Good afternoon, and welcome to today's DHHS Inclusion Works Lunch and Learn webinar. Before we get started, here are a few reminders about the webinar. Please make sure that you are using a computer or smartphone connected to the internet and that the audio function is on and the volume is turned up. Please be sure your microphone is muted for the duration of the call unless you are speaking or asking questions. For closed captioning options, select the closed caption feature located on your control panel. To ask questions, use the chat feature or click the hand icon located on your control panel, and we will answer as many questions as time allows toward the end of the presentation. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Claire Colligan, IDD Consultant for Competitive Integrative Employment for the Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services.
Thanks, Dina. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'm really happy today to be joined by Zora Polkowski, Communications Officer of NC-ABLE. Please feel free to submit questions for Zora in the chat, and we will address questions at the end of the presentation. Welcome, Zora, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. As she mentioned, my name is Zora, and I work with the State Treasurer's Office, and we are the ones who administer the NC-ABLE program. And today I am going to talk about account eligibility, features and benefits of the program. Now, I want to say at the beginning, this is a lot of information, so I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, and I'm happy to share the slides following this presentation, so don't feel like you need to frantically take notes the whole way through. So just to start out and give a little bit of background on the ABLE program. So ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. And you can see on the slide that the NC program itself is actually relatively new. So this slide shows a high-level timeline of how the program came to be about. So in November of 2011, federal legislation around the ABLE Act was first introduced. Then in December of 2014, the ABLE Act was signed into federal law. And then in August of 2015, the NC-ABLE Act was signed into law. And that was big because that allowed the state of North Carolina to offer the program for the first time. And then another big milestone happened in December of 2022 when the ABLE Age Adjustment Act passed. And this is something we're really excited about because what this does is it raises the age limit for the occurrence of disability to be eligible for the program from 26 years old all the way up to 46 years old, starting in the year 2026. So estimates are saying that this will actually open up eligibility for the program to around 6 million more people, and that includes approximately 1 million veterans. So again, you can see why that's a change we're really excited about. So as of today, there are 46 different states that offer some sort of ABLE program. And all of the programs are very similar since we have to follow the same legislation. But when you drill down into the different states, there are some differences, such as the investment options that are offered and the different fees. So on this map, you can see those states whose program is open to all US residents in green, and then the states that are only open to residents of their state are in gold. And then the states in blue on the map currently do not have any sort of ABLE program at this time. But you'll notice, and the great thing here is North Carolina is green. And that is because our program is open to all US residents. So that means you don't need to be living in the state of North Carolina in order to have an NC-ABLE plan. So when looking at what sets NC-ABLE apart from other plans out there are several reasons why we think we are really the best option. So one of the big things is NC-ABLE is part of the National ABLE Alliance. And that is a consortium of 19 other ABLE programs. And really, it provides us with increased buying power and leverage in the marketplace. So when we go to the marketplace, we're not going as one state, we're going as this massive 19 states. So that really allows us to keep fees competitive when we work with investment managers and the program manager who helps us run the call center. So I mentioned fees earlier, and the NC ABLE program works very hard to be transparent and upfront about all the fees and expenses that are related to the program. And I will dive specifically into fees a little bit later on. Another big distinction of NC ABLE is that North Carolina allows a parent to open an account on behalf of a child, even if that child is no longer a minor. And we just think this is another really helpful way to help get accounts open if someone is perhaps deemed incompetent and they can't open up a financial account on their own. And then another great thing is we have really great partnerships with many different advocacy groups around the state. We work closely with the ARC of North Carolina, Special Olympics of North Carolina, the Autism Society of North Carolina, and that's just to name a few. So as we work with these different organizations and as we hear of any issues or concerns as it pertains to our NC ABLE account holders, we are actually able then to work on their behalf with the General Assembly to kind of make any enhancements that are needed to the program. And then lastly, one thing I want to mention that's actually not on this slide is the NC ABLE program is actually overseen by a board that's made up of 6 individuals, and that includes the state treasurer, Treasurer Folwell, who actually acts as the chair. And what's really great about this board is it provides additional oversight to the program. And you can really think of it as kind of adding another layer of protection for NC ABLE account holders. Now I am going to get into the benefits that NC ABLE actually provides. So the really great news about ABLE programs and our NC ABLE program is that it's a really great way for people with disabilities to save and invest their money. So it allows account holders to save both for everyday expenses that they may have now, as well as expenses in the future. And a great thing about the program is that if the individual is participating in any sort of federal or state benefit programs, such as SSI, Medicaid, or HUD, these resources have a cap where you can save up to $2,000 without jeopardizing these benefits. But, and this is the big thing, with an NC ABLE account, people can actually save beyond that $2,000 threshold without losing public supports. And if you think about it, that's a really big deal for someone who maybe has been trained their entire life not to save just due to fear of these different resource cap limits. And I do want to note here that while that's a very big advantage of the program, you do not need to be receiving public benefits in order to open an NC ABLE account. So what exactly makes someone eligible for NC ABLE? So really, who can open an account is pretty straightforward, but there are a few criteria that you need to be aware of. So you are generally eligible if you've had the occurrence of disability present before the age of 26. And then one of the following also must be true. So first, the individual must have an occurrence of disability that can be evidenced by written diagnosis from a licensed physician, or if you are an individual who meets the eligibility standard for SSI or SSDI due to your disability, or if you have a condition that's noted on the Social Security Administration's compassionate allowances list. And we actually added a link to the full list on this slide, and I really encourage you all to take a look because it is very extensive. It covers things like different cancers, adult brain disorders, and a number of disorders that affect children. So around this topic, we get a lot of questions like, do you have to be 18 to open an account? And the answer is no. I really want to stress that you can open an account at any age as long as your disability was present before the age of 26. And as I mentioned earlier, the really good news here is that with the recent passage of the Able Age Adjustment Act, the age for the occurrence of disability is going to be bumped up to 46 years old starting in the year 2026. So I also want to note here that this is a self-certification program. So what that means is that when you first open the account, you need to self-certify that, yes, I do indeed have a disability. And then every year thereafter, you'll get an annual statement, and there'll be messaging on your statement that says, hey, it's up to you, the account owner, to notify us if you are no longer eligible. So if you are still eligible for your account, then there's nothing you have to do. If you aren't still eligible for an NC-able account for whatever reason, then it has clear instructions on how to reach out to us. Now let's talk about how you actually open an NC-able account. So when you look at who can actually open an NC-able account, if the eligible person or the person with a disability, if they have legal capacity, then they themselves can open an account. Also, the person with power of attorney from the eligible account owner can also open an account. Now, if the eligible account owner does not have legal capacity, then an authorized individual can step in and help open an account. And authorized individuals are parties who can help an eligible account owner either open and or manage their account. And I'll dive a little bit more into this further in the presentation. But for now, just understand that authorized individuals can include people like an agent under power of attorney, a legal guardian or conservator of the account owner, a spouse of the eligible account owner, a parent, a sibling of the eligible account owner, grandparents, or a representative payee of an eligible account owner who has been appointed by the Social Security Administration. So when you look at how you actually open an account, the really good news is that you can do the entire process online. You simply go to our website, which is ncable.org, and at the top right part of the screen, you'll see a button that says open an account. You just click on that and it will take you through the entire process. The process takes about 15 to 20 minutes and it's very straightforward. But for people that may have questions or may need a little bit extra help, we do have a client service center and they are open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. at that toll-free number that's listed on this slide. Now, if you are someone who doesn't have internet access or if you don't feel comfortable enrolling online, what you can do is simply call that client service center number that's on the screen, and they can actually send you or mail you a hard copy form, and you would just simply fill out that form and mail it back in. And I do want to note here before you start the entire process that there is a $25 minimum deposit needed to first open the account. So $25 is needed to first open an NC-able account, but then after that, it's really up to the account holder how much or how little money they want to actually keep in the account. Now I am going to discuss interested party on an account. So again, one of the unique features of ABLE accounts is that the individual with the disability is the actual account owner. So if someone else contributes or gives them money, it becomes their money. It becomes the account holder's money. However, we do have some members that may not have the ability to manage their account once it's open. And because of this, we have what's called an interested party that can be added onto the account to help. So interested parties can view and access information in the account, but they can't do things like move money around or withdraw money. So really, you can think of the interested party as having read-only access, where they can see how much money there is and how it's invested. And some examples of interested party that we see quite frequently are people like a financial advisor, a CPA, or even legal counsel who may be helping the account owner. So again, for account owners who just need that high level of help, an interested party will be able to kind of access and view all their information to really help them make decisions. Now, for account owners who need even more help managing and or opening their account, they can assign an authorized individual. And I mentioned that a few slides back, but the authorized individual will have full access to the account. So that means the authorized individual will be able to review information, move money around, withdraw money. Really, they can do anything that the actual account owner can also do. And I do want to note here that if it is helpful, the account owner can have both an interested party and an authorized individual listed on their account to help. Now I am going to discuss a little bit about how authorized individuals actually differ from the account owner and what documentation is needed to actually add them onto an account. So again, the person who actually qualifies for an ABLE account or who has the disability is considered the account owner, and everything is under their name and all the money in the account is their money. But an authorized individual can be added to help manage and or open an NC ABLE account on behalf of the account owner. So authorized individuals can work on behalf of a minor account owner and or an adult account owner who either one lacks the capacity to contract and the authorized individual has authority to act, or two, if they do have legal capacity and they've granted the authorized individual power of attorney. So on this slide, you will see again all the people who can be deemed an authorized individual and help open and or manage an account. And then underneath, it also lists the different types of documentation that is needed in order to prove your relationship to the account owner. So for instance, if you are acting as an agent under power of attorney for an account owner, you will need to provide the official power of attorney document from the court. If you're a spouse of an account owner, you would need to provide your official marriage certificate in order to act as an authorized individual. If you're a parent of an eligible account owner, you would need to provide their birth certificate and then so on. Next, I am going to talk about the different contribution limits and sources that you need to be aware of with an NC ABLE account. So one of the other nice features of NC ABLE is that it's very flexible and easy when it comes to contributing money into the account. Really, anyone and everyone can contribute money on behalf of the account owner. And if the account owner is employed, even their earned income can go directly into the account. So you'll see on this slide that friends and family can contribute, and you can even roll over money directly from a 529 college savings plan. However, there are some contribution limits with ABLE programs that you need to be aware of. So first, there is an annual account limit of $18,000, and that is from all contribution sources. Second, you can save up to $100,000 in an ABLE account without having the balance used to determine your eligibility for SSI. And then lastly, there is a $540,000 lifetime balance limit, and that is over the entire span of having your NC ABLE account. And a topic that comes up quite a bit that I want to touch on is, if you are an NC ABLE account holder and you are receiving SSI, what happens if you go above that $100,000 limit? Well, at that point, your public supports or your SSI may be suspended, but you are never removed from the NC ABLE program. So what you would do at that point is just stop contributing to your NC ABLE account and spend it down. And then once the NC ABLE account is spent down below that $100,000 level, then the individual doesn't need to worry about their benefits being suspended anymore. Another really nice thing is that for an individual who is working, the ABLE to work provision actually allows them to save or contribute even more than that $18,000 into their ABLE account. And this goes for working account owners who are working part-time or full-time. So in addition to that $18,000 limit from all sources, a working account owner can add the lesser of their earned income or the one-person poverty level for the prior year. So for example, in 2023, the one-person poverty level amount was $14,580. So really, if you're a working individual with an account and you have the resources, you could actually save up to $32,580 for the year. One caveat I do want to note with this ABLE to work provision is working account owners are not eligible to contribute these additional funds into their ABLE account if they are already contributing to their employer-sponsored retirement. So that could be through a defined contribution plan like a 401k, an annuity contract, or any sort of eligible deferred compensation plan. So if you are an ABLE account owner and you are already contributing to your retirement, then you are not eligible to this ABLE to work provision. Now I will talk about the different ways you can actually add money into an NC ABLE account. And I want to state here that NC ABLE accounts are not available through brick and mortar businesses. So for example, you can't just walk down the street into a bank and open an account. However, there are very easy methods to fund your account. You can fill out a check and mail it in. You can use an electronic funds transfer and move money from one bank account to your ABLE account. Again, for individuals who are working, they can choose to have the payroll deduction, and then that automatically gets deposited into their account every payroll cycle. Something that's relatively new is SSI payments can now be directly deposited into an ABLE account. And this is very convenient, but I do want to note that other regulations do apply there. So if you are interested in having your SSI payments directly deposited, we recommend that you go and look up the Social Security Administration's Program Operations Manual, or their POM, and read about those different regulations that may impact that. And then lastly, NC Able accounts also have the UGIFT feature, and you can learn more about that at ugiftable.com. But basically, it's just a very easy way for friends and family to directly contribute money into an Able account. Now I am going to talk about the different investment options that are available with NC Able accounts. So we get asked quite a bit, once money is in the account, what options do I have for investing it? So first, there is the checking account option. And this option is offered exclusively through Fifth Third Bank. So really, this option looks like most other checking accounts that you will see out on the market. And it may be a good idea for an account owner who has short-term expenses or who plans on using their NC Able account frequently. These checking accounts are interest bearing, they're FDIC insured up to $250,000. There's a debit card that comes with the checking account, and there's no card insurance fees. The account offers the ability to write checks, and you can also access your funds through different ATMs. And Fifth Third Bank has over 1,000 branch locations just in the southern region of the United States alone. So they're pretty broadly located. And then finally, with this option, there are no overdraft fees. So for money that may not be needed in the near term, we also have longer term savings plans. And this may be ideal for individuals who are looking to save enough money, maybe to purchase more expensive items, like a new car or medical equipment. And these longer term investment options are represented by the 6 different portfolios you see on this slide. And they vary on risk level from conservative all the way up to aggressive. So each of these investment options blends stocks, bonds, and cash. But I want to note that these investment options are not FDIC insured. And you could lose money with these options just like on any other stock or bond that's on the stock exchange. So really, in other words, their performance is not guaranteed. But again, the benefit of these investment options is that it gives the account owner really the ability to save for longer term needs. So for example, if you have a child that you're opening an account for, you can use that to save for college or independent living at some point in the future. Really, we say it's up to the individual and why they're saving and what they hope to do with the funds to really determine which option is best for them. So you can have the checking account option, the investment option, or both the checking and investment option. Now I am going to touch on how money in an NC Able account can actually be used. So it's important to note here that dollars go into an Able account after taxes, and they grow tax-free and they remain tax-free as long as they are used for a qualified disability expense, or what we refer to as a QDE. So QDEs are defined under the same federal legislation. So that means that all Able programs across the country have to abide by the same set of rules. The good news is that QDEs are purposely defined very, very broadly. So what we go by is a QDE is any expense related to the account owner's disability that can be used for the benefit of the account owner in maintaining or improving their health, independence, or quality of life. And I know that was a mouthful, but really the key things here to keep in mind is that the expense has to be for the account owner's benefit, and it has to be related to their disability. So this slide shows some common examples of QDEs, things like housing, so rent payments or mortgage payments, transportation, medical bills, legal fees, things like food, clothes, expenses, and even cell phones may be considered a QDE. So for example, when you think about a cell phone, especially in terms of quality of life and when it's one's independence, really most of us rely on a cell phone every day to travel and get by. Other things that are frequently covered include things like occupational therapies, physical therapies, supportive technologies, and financial management are also things that could be considered a QDE. Now, some questions that come up frequently around this topic is we get asked, who makes sure that ABLE funds are actually being used appropriately? And the answer to that is the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS, are the ones that actually make sure that funds in an ABLE account are being used correctly. And they may do this by issuing an audit. We also often get asked, should I be keeping a record of the different qualified disability expenses paid for by my ABLE account? And we say yes. We do recommend that you save the receipts of your purchases. And we also recommend you keep a journal or some sort of record of what each expense was and how it was related to your disability or how it bettered your life. And again, this will just really come in handy if you are ever audited by the IRS. I already talked about how you actually put money into an ABLE account. So now I'm going to touch on how you can get your money out of an ABLE account. So again, if you can withdraw money by using an ATM machine, and as I mentioned, there are Fifth Third Bank ATM machines broadly located across the southern region. You could also use a checkbook and physically write out a check. You could use an electronics funds transfer, so you could move money out of your account electronically. And of course, you could use your debit card. So again, as you can see, very easy methods to withdraw money from an NC-ABLE account. We really want to make sure that people have access to their money as easily as possible. Now I will touch on the different fees that are associated with an NC-ABLE account. So we do work very hard to keep the fees as low as possible, but there are 3 fees that you need to be aware of. So first, there is the annual account maintenance fee of $33, and that is a flat fee. So regardless of the account size, it's $33. And that is if the individual elects to have electronic statements. If the individual wants to have paper statements, then that's bumped up to a $53 fee. So really the bulk of this fee goes to the program manager who helps us run the program. And then $5 of that fee goes back to the state of North Carolina to just really help cover the costs that it takes to administer the program. Now, for those who elect to have the checking account option, Fifth Third charges $2 per month for that option. But the really good news here is that that $2 fee can easily be waived if either one, your average account balance is $250 or more, or two, if you have electronic delivery of your statements. So if either one of those pertain to you, that $2 monthly fee would be waived. And then the third and final fee to be aware of is the charge for the underlying investments in the program. And right now, that fee ranges between 28 basis points and 31 basis points. So the way you convert that to dollars is that for every $1,000 you have invested, the fee would be $2.80 to $3.10 annually. So really, it depends on how your account is set up and which options you chose to determine what your fees would look like for the year. But all you would do is add up these different items that relate to how you have your account set up, and you would have a good estimate on your annual fees. And again, these fees are very competitive with other ABLE programs across the country. So as I come to the end of my presentation, I did want to briefly mention special needs trusts. So we get asked quite a lot, if I have an ABLE account, do I need a special needs trust? Or if I already have a special needs trust, do I need an ABLE account? And we like to say, really look at these as two separate tools to have in your toolbox. So depending on your individual circumstances, you may not need both an ABLE account and a special needs trust, but you may benefit from having both. So generally speaking, there are more restrictions on how money can be spent from a special needs trust. So for example, you can't spend money on food or housing from a special needs trust, but you can spend money on those things with an ABLE account. But then on the flip side, special needs trusts are not restricted to the same funding limitations within a given year that ABLE accounts are. So you can only save $18,000 annually in an ABLE account, but special needs trusts don't have those restrictions. Really, our best advice is that especially if you're dealing with sizable assets, you should really speak with a special needs trust attorney to determine which option is best for you. And I also want to put in a plug. We actually recorded a webinar specifically around this topic recently. So if you go to our website, ncable.org, you can view that entire presentation. Now, of course, the death of an account owner is a very sensitive topic, but I understand it's important to know what happens for planning purposes. So I will discuss what happens to money in an ABLE account when the account owner passes away. So when looking at what happens to money in an ABLE account after the death of an account owner, first, the funds from their ABLE account can be used by his or her estate to repay any sort of outstanding QDEs. So again, that can be things like medical bills, legal fees, and even funeral and burial costs. Then after that, if the account owner was receiving Medicaid benefits, if there's any money left, then Medicaid can file a claim for payback upon the account owner's death. And the Medicaid recovery is calculated from the date the deceased account owner first opened their ABLE account. And then lastly, if after all the QDEs have been paid out and any sort of Medicaid recovery claim has been paid out, if there is a leftover account balance of money, then that remaining money is paid out to the account owner's estate. In leaving today, I wanted to leave you all with several different resources and ways that you can learn more about the NC ABLE program and ABLE programs in general. So on this slide are a number of ways that you can contact us. Again, ncable.org is our main website, and we are always working to expand the content and tools that we make available. So you'll see we have a very robust FAQ page, and we also have an events page where you can view our upcoming webinars. We're also very active on social media, so you can follow us on Twitter, join our Facebook page, or take a look at our YouTube channel. And when we do have updates about the program, for instance, if there's new legislation that was passed or if the contribution limit has changed, we typically alert people to these changes via our website and social media first. So if you kind of want to be in the know, those are the places to go. And then lastly, again, you'll see the toll-free number to our call center on the slide, and they are available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Eastern time, and can really answer any questions that you may have about the program. And then in closing, on this slide, you'll find resources for the ABLE National Resource Center. And their website is a really great place to get information just about ABLE programs in general. And what's really neat is that if you want to compare the different state ABLE programs, they have this cool tool where it's a map of the United States, and you just click on the different states that you're interested in their ABLE programs, and the ABLE program information will pop up so that you can see side by side what the different states offer. And that concludes my presentation. Again, I know it was a lot of information, so I am happy to share these slides with you all. And then I am also happy to turn it over to the group to see if there are any questions.
Zora, thank you so much. We really appreciate this. Was fantastic information that I think a lot of our folks are going to be able to get a lot of benefit out of having this. There are some questions. I think it looks like the volume and audio problems were resolved.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, there were a few right in the beginning, but I think those were resolved.
Okay. Apologies for that.
Diana Baker asked if you could confirm age rates again. Are these accounts only for people living with IDD?
So was the first part of the question age rates?
The first was the age rates.
Yeah. So in order to be eligible for an NC ABLE account, you can open an account at any age, but you must have the occurrence of disability prior to the age of 26. So that means you could be 46 years old and open an account as long as you were diagnosed with your disability prior to the age of 26. So those are the age restrictions. And then in the year 2026, so a few years from now, that age is going to be bumped up from 26 years old to 46. But right now it is currently 26 years old. And then I'm sorry, do you mind
Yes.
saying the second part of that question again?
Sure thing, sure thing. Are these accounts only for people living with an IDD?
No. So disabilities is defined very broadly. Again, and this is not an extensive list by any means. It can cover IDDs, it can cover mental disorders, it can cover different things like cancer. So I really encourage you all to take a look at the Social Security Administration's compassionate allowances list. And again, the link is in the slide deck because that is just so exhaustive and it really covers some things that you might not think of. But the answer is no, you don't just have to have an IDD in order to be eligible.
Great, thank you so much. Michael would like to know, Michael says that I have CP and I have an ABLE account. Would you all consider expanding the network of banks? The one bank is Fifth Bank and they don't have a local branch where I live.
Yeah, no, and I'm so sorry to hear that. And, we do get that feedback once in a while. So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we are part of the National ABLE Alliance, which is that consortium of 19 other ABLE programs. And as a consortium, we chose Fifth Third Bank. So I mean, in the future, we might be able to change which bank we use, but we'd have to have the whole consortium kind of vote towards that. So for now, it is just Fifth Third Bank.
Okay, Betsy asks and says, it would be nice if guardians did not have to be general guardians who have to complete an annual accounting of the money in this account. Is there a way around that?
I guess I'm a little confused about the annual counting of money. What,
Betsy, if you want to
yeah, do you
take
mind?
yourself off mute and ask your question again, you could do that, Betsy. Okay, maybe Betsy, you can come back to us. in the
Yeah,
chat.
or even if they're able to email
Okay,
you.
can you hear me?
I can
Okay,
hear
I had
you.
the host had to unmute me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I contacted the person who's over special proceedings in our county, and she said if my son owned the account, it doesn't matter if it's a regular checking account or an ABLE account, that I had to be the general guardian, not guardian of the person.
Mm-hmm.
That also requires that you have a bond issued every year. And his bond costs $300 a year based on the amount of money in the account. So that's an added expense. It can be paid through the ABLE account, but it's still another expense. But
And I'm sorry, who told you that again? You said you're
the
was
clerk
it
of court,
okay, so you're okay. So
our
you
local
kind of
clerk of court. Yeah,
okay.
in the special proceedings office, that's who we go to get our guardianship through.
Gotcha.
I mean, the ABLE account told me I had to be the general guardian initially. And as a general guardian, you have to do an annual accounting, which is filed each year at the courthouse. And they're very strict about it. And it's a good thing. You have to show, you have to account for all the money that goes out.
Right.
But I mean, my son uses a debit card every day
Right,
for food. So I have to list every single day every single dollar that's spent.
yeah.
It's a lot to do.
It is a lot, and you know we get that from other account owners. We are trying to make that a little bit easier with things like some things that are in the works right now are like a way to online track and record your expenses. Again, just to make it easier, but you know,
It
I know.
actually does that. It does that in the ABLE account. It shows on his account what is spent. And this is not his SSI money. That goes through his rep payee for the group home. So I don't have to keep up with that money. This is just money that I have put into his account. But they still make me do this annual accounting and be the
Yeah,
general guardian and have a bond. It's just, there's a lot to it. And I don't think people realize that part of it.
there in your situation there is a lot, and I apologize for sort of all that red tape, but I do want to also note that all that tracking will come in handy if the IRS ever questions you for whatever reason about, you know, oh, are you really spending this on QDEs? Again, that tracking really just it's annoying, but it really covers you.
But is that everywhere in North Carolina that you have to do an annual accounting?
Honestly, I have not. This is the first time I've heard of this. So this might be a local thing. I've never heard of this annual accounting from the local clerk. So I'm happy to, you know, go to our legal counsel and ask them if they have information. But yeah, this is the first time I've heard of that process.
Yeah, if you are a general guardian, it is required. And the ABLE account is who told me I had to switch from guardian of the person to general guardian.
Yeah, and
but that was because we used the brokerage part. It wasn't just but even if it was just plain checking, it wouldn't have mattered because
right.
my
So
son's the account owner.
And how old is your son, may I ask?
He's 28.
Okay, so that is why, because he's over the age of 18, that is why they told you you had to change to general guardianship in order to keep being able to kind of help manage his account.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
And if
I mean,
you,
I was guardian of the person. I had to be guardian once he turned 18.
yeah, correct.
But I had to go back through a special proceeding to become a general guardian for the ABLE account.
Unfortunately, there is that process once the account owner turns 18, because technically they're a legal adult. So if you want to continue to act as an authorized individual on their account, unfortunately, you do have to go through that process. Did you want me to ask my legal counsel here more information about, what you described with the local clerk of courts? Just to see if they have any additional insight.
I mean, it would be nice. I spoke with this clerk of court recently. I actually am changing to a different ABLE account. I was trying to get around having to do this, but she said it doesn't matter. I'm still going to have to do it. So I don't know that I'm going to get a different answer.
Yeah, unfortunately, so all ABLE accounts are kind of covered under the same federal regulations. So, no matter kind of which state you want to open the account in, you might run up to this again, but I have never heard of this annual accounting from the local clerk. So that's what I'm asking, if you want me to kind of ask our legal counsel about. And I would just say, if you don't mind dropping an email into the chat, then I'm happy to follow up with you that way.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
And since we have Betsy on, has taken herself off mute, she also asked, would you go over the Medicaid clawback information related to the ABLE accounts?
Yeah, so Medicaid clawback can occur at the time after the account owner passes away. So if the account owner passes away, first, what happens to any money left over in the account is the estate can use it to pay for QDEs. So that can be any outstanding medical bills, funeral and burial costs, if there's any legal fees. So that's the first thing that happens. Then after that, if there is still money left over in the account, then Medicaid does have the right to claw back the money from the account owner, and they can claw back any sort of owned money from the account owner, and that's calculated from the time the account owner first opened their account. So that's kind of the order of operations. What we run into quite a bit is, if an account owner passes away and there's money left in the account, the estate really does their best to kind of use all that money on, anything that can be related to a QDE, so that there actually, isn't anything left when it comes to Medicaid to potentially claw that back. Did that answer your question?
So this may be related.
Yes, I'm sorry. They have to keep taking me off mute.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Yeah, it does. I just didn't know if that was something that they regularly did, or if they, they have to be notified in order to do that.
Yeah, I do believe they notify you. They notify the estate, I should say. But again, if you have spent all the money out on any outstanding QDEs, then there's no money to claw back. So
Right.
that's what we've seen families do in that circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like using a special needs trust for the bulk of the money and then transferring into the ABLE account is probably a good strategy. So you don't build up a huge amount of money, well, $100,000 that they could potentially claw back.
Yeah, that's why sometimes special needs trusts and ABLE accounts work really well together. Just really
Right.
depends on your individual circumstances.
So this may be related. Diana asks, what if people want to move money over to an ABLE account? And how does that work with Medicaid lookbacks?
I can they offer a little bit more clarification? Do you mean move money from an existing account into an
So-
ABLE?
so if we can take Diana off mute, if she would like to speak to this.
And again, if there's any,
Okay, it
oh,
took a while. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
It just took me off. Okay. So I was asking because a lot of times when people apply for community Medicaid, if they have a certain amount of assets in their bank account, there's a certain look back period. And I don't know all of the specifics, but I know they can't be shown moving money. So not sure how that is affected with the ABLE
It's-
account.
Yeah, so any money in your ABLE account up to $100,000 is protected from that. So the look back would not apply to that from the time the account was first opened. So before that, the Medicaid look back would apply, but from the date the account is open, that money is protected. Did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Okay, Laura asks, can you have SSI directly deposited or can you have it sent from a payee account?
You can have your SSI directly deposited. If that is something you're interested in, we do recommend that you go to the Social Security Administration's website and look at their program operations manual, because there are different restrictions that apply to that. So yes, it's possible, but if you're interested in that, I'd say look at that resource just to kind of make sure you're aware of any different restrictions that may apply to your situation.
Okay, and I believe that that is the end of our questions. So again, just want to thank you, Zora, and I will turn it back over to Dina.
Thank you, Claire. The recording and presentation slides for today's event will be posted on the Inclusion Works website. There will be a brief survey following today's webinar, and we would appreciate your time completing it. This concludes our webinar for today. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, everyone.